Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. Great to have you here. So, today is an interesting episode because we are gonna look at a round of fresh new AI patterns you really need to see. So, I'm gonna walk you through some of the most interesting newly granted patents in AI, and we will have a look at what they cover and why they matter. Okay. So before we dive in, let me make just a quick housekeeping remark. In case you are watching the live stream on LinkedIn, don't be shy. Just drop your comments and your questions into the chat, and I will try to pick them up as we go. Right? We can make this as interactive as you want. And last remark: also, please do me a favor. Please hit the like button, and because that helps more people find this content then, right? All right, so let's get started. Today's lineup is a handful, like 3 fresh AI patents granted just a couple days ago. 2 are from OpenAI. I want to discuss those in any case. And then I have 1 other AI patent from Anthropic. Let's see if the time allows in this episode. If not, we're going to do it in the next. So let's not waste time and jump right into the first patent. This is from OpenAI, and it's a patent on custom GPTs. So let's have a quick look at the title page. So as you can see, the patent is named Systems and Methods for Generating Customized AI Models. This one was actually granted yesterday, so it's brand new. What is a custom GPT, you might ask? So, I mean, everyone probably has tried out ChatGPT right now. I don't need to talk about that. But then there's another feature in ChatGPT which is called custom GPTs, and the idea is that you can create as the user a custom version of ChatGPT, which you can then tailor for specific tasks or topics by combining specific instructions, also knowledge, so you can upload files and other capabilities into kind of a self-contained version, problem-specific version of ChatGPT, and those can be as simple or as complex as needed. And yeah, you can just build them with an easy editor. Let's have a look at this one. So this here is the custom GPT editor. So as you can see here, we can now define a new GPT. So let's just make a quick demo. So let's say we do a claim drafting wizard. That's the name of my GPT here now, right? I could enter a description or not. So that's not so interesting. What's interesting is the instructions. So here you can basically insert, a prompt, and then that is kind of the intelligence behind this custom GPT. So in this case, since it should be a claim drafting wizard, I would say something like write a patent claim for the provided invention. This is a very simplistic prompt. If you want to learn how to prompt properly, I have online courses and seminars on that, but that's another story. Then you could do all other sorts of stuff with these kinds of custom GPTs. You could add what they call knowledge, so you could upload files, which the model then uses as knowledge, right? And you can also allow the model to do certain things, web search or not. So we don't need image generation right now for writing claims. We also don't need web search. So I'm going to disable all of those. And that's basically it, right? And on the left hand, you can define and create your custom GPT. And on the right panel, you can then try it out, right? So here we have a preview of our claim drafting wizard. And now I can really use it, because when I can deploy this custom GPT, I can even put it into some kind of marketplace. Others could find it. And then they only see the right side of the screen, right? Claim drafting wizard. And then I would, of course, enter some kind of description, what it does. And then here I can enter an invention. So I would say now my invention is, let's say, what would be a nice invention? My invention is a charging cable which can charge an iPhone from another iPhone. Right? Wouldn't that be a great invention? So, okay, put it in, and now the custom GPT does what it is supposed to do, namely draft a claim. So here we have the answer already, right? It drafts some kind of patent claim on a charging cable for transferring electrical energy between mobile devices. Very well. Okay, even dependent claims. So yeah, that's then the output. A silly example, admittedly, but I guess you get what custom GPTs are for, right? The end user of the custom GPT will never see this left panel, so you can even keep your prompt confidential, but you can still offer this customized version of ChatGPT to others. So that's a custom GPT. Let's look how the patent captures those. Maybe let's first look at the figures real quick. So this is a medium long patent, I would say, 59 pages. So that's okay. We have the typical block diagrams, but then at some point in time, I think it's around, yeah, exactly here. Figure 10, we see this kind of screenshot, right? And here you can see that this is basically the user interface of custom GPT editor, right? So they exactly patented this functionality here, right? And yeah, you can even see the configuration panel here with the name which we filled in, the instructions, the knowledge, the capabilities, and so on. So this is exactly what the custom GPTs are about. Of course, the figures don't mean much in any patent, right? The name of the game is the claim. So let's look at the patent claims right at the end. In this patent is a US patent. We have an independent system claim. We have a method claim, and then we have another system claim in this case, right? So maybe let's look at claim 1 to see what's going on here. So we have an artificial intelligence system comprising a memory and a processor. That's common sense in any software patent in this sense. And now the computer is able to perform operations. And these operations are receiving a query to configure a custom model, right? The query comprising features, the features comprising a knowledge base and a capability. Okay, so that was the user input basically to create a custom GPT. You can input a knowledge base and also define some kind of capabilities. Providing the features to a model builder. Okay, the model builder being a language model itself, configured with a specific instruction sequence for the formation of custom models. Okay, so it's a language model which is itself kind of, maybe a custom GPT customized to the formation of custom models. Okay, kind of meta here. And so on. Then we are configuring the custom model with the model builder based on the features by fine-tuning a base model with the knowledge base and so on. We generate a custom interface for interacting with the custom model. That would be the right-hand side here probably. And then we receive a prompt via the custom interface, right? I was inserting my invention here. Down here. And then we are generating a response using the custom model. So here the custom model is now used. And now at the end of the claim, we have some kind of a more concrete explanation of what this specific instruction sequence is for the formation of the models. It comprises a first step of establishing a behavior for the custom model. Okay. A second step of generating a profile for the custom model. Okay. And a third step of generating refining prompts for the configuring of the custom model. And those refining prompts are any of, an extraction of data from the knowledge base, a template, an expected output, or an interface configuration. Okay, so far so good. And then we have a last item here, an instruction to go through steps in order without skipping. That's interesting. Maybe they had to put this feature in to get the patent granted. I'm not sure. So this is one instruction which goes into the specific instruction sequence which the model builder uses to build new models, is my understanding. Okay, an instruction to go through steps in order and without skipping. Interesting. Okay, so that's basically what is covered here. So mm, generally speaking, I mean, the broad idea is to have a system that takes a query to generate a custom AI agent, a custom model, configures it with knowledge, capabilities, instructions, and so on, and then deploys it to answer user queries. That's the general idea, but the claim is a bit more specific in the end in how the model builder actually builds the custom GPTs, right? I think here in the end, it's quite specific, and a step like this is very hard to detect from the outside, I would say. So yeah, yeah, maybe not the broadest claim, but hey, still it kind of seems to cover the general idea of giving users the ability to create custom GPTs, right? So interesting patent, I would say. Let's maybe look a little bit into some other findings, maybe in terms of timing. So this patent, as I said, was granted actually yesterday on September 2nd, 2025. And this one is a continuation of an earlier application filed in September 25, 2024. So actually, yeah, roughly 1 year ago, this invention was made. And within 1 year, the patent here is now granted, even less than a year, 11 months to be exact, right? So this pretty nicely shows OpenAI's rocket docket, if you will, because they always seem to file their US priority filings with a track 1 request for accelerated processing. And so they get their patents most of the time before the application is even published, most of the time within a couple months. And here it took 1 year, right? So interesting patent here, I would say. Again, how about detectability? Let's jump back to the claim really quick. I would say, I mean, overall, it's a nice claim because you can basically observe all those features from the outside, right? The whole generation of the custom GPT model and then receiving a prompt to use it and generate a response. Here it gets tricky because here these features here kind of concern, internal steps performed by the model builder. So here I guess these elements in the claim you cannot detect from the outside. You would need some more intelligence, right, to prove infringement here. In terms of divided infringement, maybe another check who infringes this claim. I mean, we have a system with hardware, and then this hardware performs the method, and I think the method is kind of written from the perspective of the server, right? Receiving a query, providing features to a model builder, configuring the model, generating an interface, receiving a prompt, generating a response. So that's, I think, all from the perspective of the server, which is pretty nice. Okay. In terms of setup time and runtime, my first reaction here was, my first gut feeling was that maybe we have an issue here because we have these numbers of steps here: receiving the query, building the GPT with the model builder, configuring the custom model, generating a custom interface for the model. These are kind of setup steps, right? And then we have kind of runtime steps where the end user can use it. But so strictly speaking, we could have a divided infringement situation here where the first half of the claim is only, realized by an AI company. And these steps here are then strictly speaking, performed by the end user. But at least in ChatGPT's GPT editor, I think here everything would be realized in one go, because you can define your custom GPT here, and then you can enter a prompt here and receive a response also here, right? So as long as, I guess, a competitor also has this live preview, the patent would still be infringed. But yeah, thinking a little bit further here, I think this patent is really then limited to this having this live preview also. Okay, so time is also already running. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat, and I will try to pick them up as we go further. And let's not waste any time and go straight to the second patent, which is also from OpenAI. So this one is called multi-agent interactions using a shared workspace. Everyone talks about AI agents, right? So now we can see patents here. Also, this one was granted yesterday, so brand new. This one was filed in June 2024, so a little bit more than 1 year, but still quite a rocket docket. What is this patent about? So the core of this patent here is, let's say, a shared digital workspace that kind of acts, like a ledger of commands, where AI agents can view the current state, and they can post new commands to the workspace, and they can, kind of communicate via this shared workspace where everything happens. Very much like a Slack channel where the agents communicate with each other. That's how I imagine this invention. The agents can then decide whether to act based on new information in the workspace, or to yield. And that means, so an agent can also decide that it should not act or respond to an update in the workspace. And this is then set to, prevent redundant work, and also lets specialized agents take the lead, right? So this is kind of the gist of this patent. Let's also take a look at claim 1. Also here we have different independent claims. We have a method claim, we have a system claim, and we have a non-transitory computer readable storage medium. So the typical trifecta of software patent claims. I have talked about why this is important to have all three categories before. But for now, let's look at the method claim here. A method comprising, so interestingly, they don't have any, purpose statement, like a method for managing a shared workspace for agents or something like that. That's interesting for me, because typically, at least when we German and European patent attorneys do our education, I think most of us learn to always have this purpose statement in the generic term. But yeah, why do you need it anyway? So they get rid of it altogether, because anyways, then infringement and patentability is defined by what's in the method, right? And the method comprises steps like receiving by a workspace manager an instruction to involve a task agent from a coordinator agent. Okay, so there are different different agents doing something here, sending an invite command then from the workspace manager to the task agent. So he invites the task agent to join the first channel. Okay. So actually, agents are invited to join, and then the workspace manager receives a join action command from the task agent. So probably, I guess this means that the task agent has decided to join the channel. The workspace is a ledger of commands wherein at least two artificial intelligence agents add to the workspace and thereby interact. Okay. And the coordinator agent and the task agent are configured to yield or act in response to a command added to the workspace. Okay, so this is basically this idea that an agent can pretty much decide whether it acts on new information in the workspace, or it yields, meaning it just ignores the new information. But the claim goes a bit further. Some kind of ping pong And then there's another property in the claim here. The commands in the ledger of commands are operational transforms that specify how a respective command is modifying the workspace. Okay, not entirely sure what this means just from reading the claim. So I guess we would have to dig deeper into the description to check out what this really means here, right? So I guess findings. I guess also this patent claim is okayish broad, I would say, right? It reflects the overall idea of this shared workspace for multiple agents, which can put commands into the workspace in order to communicate with each other, and this yield or act paradigm, right? Which seems to be the gist of this invention. So this is nicely reflected in this claim. There do not seem to be much, additional clutter in the claim. So yeah, probably this is, I guess, a nice, interesting patent, to say the least, right? So I think we do not have enough time to look at the third patent I have prepared, the one from Anthropic. In case you don't know Anthropic, it's the company that makes Claude, one of the other big chatbots. So I guess we will do that one in the next stream. And that's also no problem because that patent is a real monster. It has like over 340 pages. And so we will probably need a little bit more time to look into that one next time. There's one question coming up in the chat from Olli Pekkonen. Hi. He says, a more general question. Assuming a public GPT, how safe is it to disclose your invention to the prompt of the GPT in the fear of disclosing the invention? For example, the invention of cable characterized in that it is configured to charge a first phone from a second phone. Did you just disclose publicly that idea? Good question. So, I mean, in this example, of course, I publicly disclosed this idea now because I'm streaming it live. That's another story. But just from using these custom GPTs, does this create prior art? That's the $100 million question, I guess. I mean, so of course, you should never put sensitive information, let alone an invention which you want to patent, into an online chatbot without knowing what you are doing here, right? So, what can go wrong here? If you put confidential information into the internet or specifically into a chatbot online, what happens is that you send the information to some server abroad, right? So, you do lose the control over the data and where the information goes. So, we have to rely on, let's say, the data policies provided by the server provider here, in this case by OpenAI. They have their servers probably in the US, but maybe this also runs on some kind of data center near my location. I have no idea. So that would be the first thing to check. Then you need to check what does OpenAI do with the information, right? Do they train their models based on this information? And do they have sufficient measures so that let's say, the information I put in cannot be viewed by any humans who are not bound to confidentiality, right? That's a long story. I have this as one dedicated block in my seminar about using AI tools for patent drafting, especially for patent attorneys. So if you're interested in that, feel free to come to one of my seminars. Long story short, so I think in the end, it depends very much on your plan. If you use the free plan of ChatGPT, you cannot really control anything. And I wouldn't dare to put sensitive information in there. If you have a paid plan, there's kind of a tiered, let's say, ladder how you can control the handling of the data. So in the paid plans, you can at least disable the model training. So OpenAI says that they do not train their models based on your input, right? And I think they also do reasonable state-of-the-art measures so that the information cannot be viewed by humans. So in the end, you have to decide yourself. If you file your own patents, you have to decide yourself. Um, if you're working as a patent attorney, like I do, so my approach is to not use online chatbots as a default unless the client, unless I had a conversation with the client, I told him about the risks and the rewards, and then the client makes an informed decision whether he or she is fine with using cloud AI. Most are in the end because the features are just overwhelmingly good. You can also learn that in my seminar. And but then in the end, you and your clients have to decide for yourself, right? Okay, so I guess this is already the end of this episode again, right? Let's wrap up. So we were looking at two hot patents today: custom GPTs and multi-agent shared workspace by OpenAI. Next time in the next live stream, I will look at Anthropic's patent. I think these patents really nicely point to where AI platforms are heading, right? We're talking about agents, about customizations, about collaboration, and I think that's pretty interesting. So, all right, that's it for today's walkthrough of Fresh AI patents. If you want to stay in the loop, make sure to follow me here on LinkedIn for updates, and also maybe subscribe just to my mailing list so you don't miss the next deep dive. All right. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.